Hi, I'm indie fantasy author Melinda Kucsera, and in this episode, we're talking with Hannah Steenbock about her book South Breaks, and obviously the rest of the series because we like spoilers, so we're gonna try and get her to give away as many as we can in this episode. She's gonna try and fight me on it. So welcome. Tell us about South Breaks.
Hi, and oh God, see, tongue-tied, making a fool of myself. I warned you. I'm so glad I'm here. I'm a German author, German born and bred. I live in the northernmost capital of Germany, in Kiel, and I live, breathe, and write in English because I fell in love with the language at the tender age of 15 or something. And I'm going to talk about South Breaks, which is the shortest one of the entire series. I think it clocks in at about, I don't know, 45,000 words or something. It's
I love
in the
the
middle
cover.
between a novel and a novella.
I love the cover. I just have to say that. It's so
Always
eye-catching.
happens to me when I start a series. I start with a fairly low-key entry story, and then the whole thing sort of begins to explode on me.
I feel that pain.
And well, South is the whole thing. It's called The Winds of Destiny. That's the first 4 books, and then there's another 5 books called Pillars of the Empire, and that refers to the people I'm actually writing about. These are magic wielders. The winds are working with air, and they have shamanic powers, and the others are basically elemental mages. The pillars, they work with it's a bit different from the traditional elements. They work with earth. Let me think. Earth, lightning, fire, and water. That's what they're called. They're called earth, sky, sun, and moon. And the winds obviously are the 4 corners of the compass rose: south, west, east, and north. And I have published all the winds books. I'm working on getting the first Pillars book out, hopefully in the next few days.
Oh wow.
And I have them all here. I'm just going to do a little flash of cards. This is west.
And that's 2. That's book 2.
That's book 2. And this is book 3. That's east roars. And here's book 4. That's north shatters. And some of them meet each other, but north hasn't had a chance yet to see any of the other winds. The thing is, the place where this takes, the world where this takes place is basically a continent, half of which is part of the Holy Empire. And the Holy Empire, and I will have to write the prequel eventually, but the Holy Empire is the result of a big fight with blood mages. And they preserved their half of the continent, or maybe a third, and they have a magical veil that protects the empire against outside influences. And this veil is, well, magical. And I need to explain something else first. So the Holy Empire is run by a caste of priests, and you get good priests and you get really nasty ones in the entire series. And they have decided that they need to control all magic users in order to prevent this problem from recurring. They don't want to fight another magical war. So what they do is they collect everyone who uses magic as a child. And these children grow up in the sacred square in the capital of the Holy Empire, which is called Holy City. And they put together little groups of kids, always 8 groups, 1 of each kind, 4 winds, 4 pillars. And these spend their entire life living in that group. The priests give them everything they need, and these magic wielders work for the empire. They defend against attacks. They maintain the veil. They work with They work together to mitigate natural catastrophes like hailstorms and fires and everything, floods. They help fertilize farms. They do a lot of work for the people. The brutal part comes when they turn 25. There's always 25 houses, and when a house turns 25, they get sacrificed, and their energy is fed into the veil to maintain it. And there are 8 pyramids in the Holy Empire, 4 of them in the Sacred Square, and 4 of them at the 4 corners of the empire. And the pillars get killed first, and then the poor winds have to travel to their pyramid and, well, give their life force to the veils there to anchor them at the edges of the Holy Empire, which is not nearly as holy as they want to be. And South is the first wind to star in her book, and obviously she does not die on the pyramid. In fact, she never reaches it. Fate intervenes in the shape of a rockfall, and if you want to, I can read the blurb at this point.
Sure. Let's hear it.
Okay. Do you want me to share it, or is it okay just to read it?
I mean, it's up to you. Since we discovered we have a share option, I'll leave that totally up to you. I'm fine either way.
Well, it's not a pretty file. Let me just read it.
Okay, that's fine.
So this is what you should also be finding on Amazon. And here's a little, my books are on Amazon, but they're also on all the other stores. I have them in Google Play. I have them in Apple and Kobo and Barnes & Noble. They're in the library system. They're in practically any place you can buy ebooks. I use Draft to Digital to distribute. And that means it's in a lot of places. I don't even know where it all is.
So basically that you can't escape. You have no reason not to get South Breaks or any of the other books. They're everywhere. They're stalking you. They're behind you right now.
So, but this is what you should see on the blurb when you look it up, regardless of, I just need to pull up the right file. There we go. So, South Breaks. A lost love, a broken destiny, a new chance. Throughout her whole life, South has given everything to the Holy Empire. Her magic, her power, her children, even her beloved moon. The only thing left to give is her life. When a rockfall kills everyone on her journey to her death, except her and her guide, South is tossed back into the life that was stolen from her when she was a child, with a family only she can protect. Torn between grief for Moon and love for her newfound family, South struggles to find a purpose for her life and powers. Just as she settles in, the priests she escaped wreak new havoc on her family, abducting South's niece. My God, this is hard to read. Rescuing the girl means sneaking back into the Empire, where discovery would result in a painful death. South Breaks is the first book of an epic fantasy series following the fates of 8 magic users and their fight against the fanatic priests of the Holy Empire. And that's following a book blurb recipe.
Which is important.
It is. So yeah, that's the first. And I can talk a bit more about South. The thing is, I love writing about underdogs. And I mean, South really is pretty much an underdog. I mean, she spends her life doing what she's told. She doesn't even rebel or anything. It's just, I mean, these poor kids are conditioned into believing that this is their destiny and their life, their purpose. Most of them don't even fight being killed. So yeah, when South ends up in a world that she has a hard time understanding, really, that is a lot of growth she has to go through. And I'm quite willing to spoil that she does find love again. And of course, she gets back the niece as well. It's quite an adventure. And that's something else you need to know about me. I don't kill my main characters.
I don't either.
I mangle them sometimes, some more than others, but I don't kill them, and I don't really kill their love interests. I mean, I'm a bit of a sucker for happy endings.
I am too. I am too. There's nothing better than a happy ending, especially if it's deserved.
Yes. Yeah, well, they have to work for it. They have to work for it. It's
Hell yeah.
things can get grim, but I'm not a grim dark author either. I mean, I think there's enough bad stuff happening in the real world that I don't necessarily need to write about all of it in my own stories. And I've come to prefer reading, sweet and positive stories, because I mean, seriously, I can't deal with real life that well.
Who can? There's so much that goes on. Why don't we meet South? I think you were going to read us some of the book, so let's hear South in her own words.
Yeah. I want to read the first chapter, and I have a PDF file pulled up because I decided to make the book pretty. The thing is, each of the houses, I kind of stole the naming for the houses from Aztecs, as well as I stole the sacrifice and pyramid thing. It's not meant as a commentary on the culture at all. It's just inspiration. So all the houses have animal names, and I picked what they call tribal images of the animals. It is a certain style to illustrate the books. And this will get important because the final book is going to take all characters and mess them up together and send them in different places. And I will use the tribal images to identify whose chapter it is.
Oh, that's cool. So are you going to show us some of that in here, or is that a spoiler?
Yes. This is the first time I've tried to share a screen in StreamYard, and I hope you won't see my messy screen, but just the one share screen.
Hopefully it'll pop up so I can see it too, so we can tell it worked.
Yeah, this is the first time I've really. Okay, I want to have. Let me.
All right, I changed the layout, so hopefully when you share it, it will knock us both over to the left and show it on the right.
Yeah, that's what Zoom does. It's not even letting me pick the PDF. Maybe I need to close all the other windows.
Oh, okay. All right. Technical difficulties.
Give me a second. This is the browser has blocked my screen. Yeah. Come on.
Oh, you got to give it permission. Yeah, there's always something.
There we go. This is better. Let's see. Can you see that?
Oh, yes. I can add it to stream. There we go. That was pretty cool. It popped up. So.
All right. So.
Now viewers can see this.
This is cool. So glad this works. It's an ugly PDF. I haven't managed to hide this stupid menu there, but
no, don't worry about it. For listeners, can you describe the image? Because they're not going to be able to see this unless they hop over to YouTube to watch it. I'll put the YouTube link for this in the show notes so that you can hop over if you want to see it.
So what I did, South's house is a rabbit house, and I picked a rabbit. I saw this cute jumping rabbit, and it's basically running, and it has the hind legs up in the air, and it's sort of about to land on the front legs, and it's a stylized image, sort of in the, what do you call it, possibly the Northwest Indians, well, Indians wrong name, but the Northwest tribes in the US. They use that kind of style with swirls on the animal body, and so it has this tattoo style, if you wish, and it's a rabbit that's kind of running real fast, but it's sort of stretched out and coming down to the left side of the page, and that's my chapter header graphic. And it's also on the back of the print books, and it's in the ebooks and the print. You will see the chapter graphic, and I love it. And every other main character also has a chapter graphic. West has a dolphin, well, or an orca more like it. East has a lion, and North has a deer, and Earth is getting a bear. And I find these images on Deposit Photos, and I use Articus to format my books, and they allow us to have these awesome chapter graphics, and it's cool to set them up. I love it. So that's what I'm going to read, and I'll let's see. There we go. I just need to pull it up on my screen because it's too small to see in the.
Oh, you're not going to read the PDF?
Well, I probably should read it from my other file. There we go. Because then I can scroll and do things. Okay, so this is chapter 1. It's a short one. My chapter lengths vary very much. It depends on how much is supposed to happen. So you get to there. You get chapter 1 of South Breaks. And I love dumping people in the middle of the story. So here we go. South was tired. They were on the first journey of her life and the last. As she was not used to traveling at all, they had tied her to the saddle of the animal that carried her along the narrow mountain paths. Because of the rain, she couldn't see much of the landscape, but the glimpses she could catch terrified her. She would be so glad when it was over. The priest leading the procession walked at a stately pace, even though their guide was urging him to go faster. Rain had been pouring down all day, and everyone wanted shelter. But the wind could not be hurried, he had said, and refused to walk faster. South was used to doing what she was told, even if it was cold, uncomfortable, and unpleasant. She had been raised in the rabbit house, together with 4 men and 3 women, living a comfortable life under the guidance of the priests. Every year, their quarters had moved 1 house closer to the peak of the sacred square, until they had reached it last year after the solstice ceremonies. This year, she was participating in them. And when they were done, the whales would move into the first house for the final year of their lives. That's how life was for winds and pillars. It had been chosen for them at birth, and it wasn't a bad life at all, South thought. Except this journey had been harder than she expected. The rain got stronger, and now thunder rumbled, echoing from craggy mountain faces. The clouds got even darker, and South couldn't see much anymore. The animal she was riding didn't seem worried. She could see it moving its large ears, and once again their guide walked up to the priest and talked to him. The priest shook his head, but he did walk a little faster. Good. Soon they'd reach a village that served as a way station, just as they had on the last 5 days. Or had that been 6? She couldn't remember. All she wanted was a hot bath and a soft bed. Her bones hurt from sitting in the saddle. The South Pyramid was the one furthest away from the holy city. Only now did she realize what that meant. She must be the only rabbit still alive. Of course, this year, new rabbits would be born and chosen, but her friends would all be dead by now. Her beloved moon had been the first of them to go. For once, she allowed herself to remember that moment. And this is the end of chapter 1 because I put the flashback into chapter 2.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
And yeah, this is how you get to know South. She's just doing as she was told.
So they're going to sacrifice her? Is that... Did I catch that right?
And chapter 2 explains how that works. It's a bit graphic, and it's a bit that's the thing. There is sex in the stories. It's not, I don't make it, well, okay, I struggle with this sometimes. It's not pornographic, but it's part of their lives, and it's part of the ritual when they get killed. And I mean, imagine it. There's like, everyone lives in that house all the time together. They have no inhibitions. They have no reasons to not have fun with each other. So anyway, that's there. I try to make the descriptions simple. I do not like the pornographic terms that invade a lot of the romance books. But yeah, so just so you expect, it's not completely clean. It's
I don't like the clean, dirty thing, because sex is not dirty. There, especially if it's in a loving relationship. Like, so I like this, even the sweet and spicy, because you know, I don't know. Yeah. Some people may not think they're all that sweet. Even though it's closed door or something, behind those doors, it may not be all that sweet. I can just imagine the characters being like, you know, once the door closed, we weren't sweet anymore. That's always what goes through my head, because I'm weird.
I'm going to end the screen sharing just so that I can see you better when we chat.
Oh, you show the. Oh, I was going to say we could show the cover real nice and big.
We can.
Or if you have a graphic of the whole series, since we've now discovered we can share screens, we should use this new feature so that we can share like cool stuff, like cover images. Like, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to share on there now that we know how to do it. So.
Well, let me see. I mean, I can give you the that's even more interesting. I can give you the print wrap for South if you want to see that.
Yeah, let's put that up on the screen. Since we figured out how to do it, we might as well have visuals. This would be a visual extravaganza.
Let me see. Here we go. This is the print wrap.
Okay, let me add this to the stream. Ooh, that's pretty.
Yeah, I'm so glad that I found my cover designer. She's so awesome.
That's so pretty. And I love the symbol. It's like a compass, and like it's just, I've always thought they were very pretty covers. I don't know if I said so, but I'm saying so now.
I have to say that the compass rose and the symbols, that was basically my idea. And I made a rough sketch, and Tyra Morgan is the cover designer. That's how I pronounce her name. I don't know how she does it. But Tyra really took it and ran with it. And I think the covers are so awesome. And if you look closely, you can actually see the rabbit here on the back.
Oh, yeah. I didn't see it until you pointed it out, but I see it now.
Yeah, she said she could put them on the back, and she does them with every cover. The tribal animal is always in that position. And I love it because it sort of ties them all together. And so this is that's the print wrap. And you can always look at the ebook cover easily, because that's just this part, really.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it. Damn it.
It's the books are stalking you. That's what that sound was. It's right behind you right now. If you turn around, you can pick up South Breaks and start reading it.
that was my phone, and I think it's my dad calling, because I'm seeing him tonight, and I didn't tell him about the interview. So yep.
Oh yeah, no. My parents, my dad has decided that because we're all going to my nephew's birthday in a few hours, he's like decided that he's going to drive from his house to mine and pick me up, and we are going to go over there. And I'm like, do you realize you're adding an extra hour to your drive? He's like, I don't care. I want to drive you. And I was like, all right. I'm not going to argue. If you want to spend the gas, I do enough driving to my job. I'll be a passenger. He wants me to probably work the GPS because he doesn't like doing that. So there's an ulterior motive there.
So yeah, I'm gonna take down the book again. But
okay. and there we go. Now we're back. Now there's just the two of us.
Yeah, I mean, this is so much fun with screen sharing, and I love talking about my series. I love talking about the world. I try to have all climate zones. There is an area north of the empire where the Northmen live, and they're a bit of a take on the Vikings. And I have a traveling tribe which travels not through the empire. They hate the empire. They had children stolen from them by the empire priests. So they travel around there. There's a central desert. They travel around the desert and trade. And in the south, there's where South will end up living. There's a jungle. And so people.
Wait, that was a spoiler because she was headed to be, put to death, and you're saying she's going to be living in the South. So there's a spoiler there. Yeah, see, I gotcha.
That's not that big a spoiler. I mean, all of my characters basically escape being sacrificed. That's not much of a secret. It happens in the beginning of every book.
So that's like their like sort of a ritual in the book. You have to be a main character in one of your books. You have to escape being killed in the beginning of your book. If you don't, you never get to see those books, readers.
Well, in this series, I don't have that in every one of my books. I mean, I have more series. I have a dragon series. I have even a science fiction series that. Oh, we had this thing about sex scenes and bed scenes. Well, the science fiction series is full of them. So I picked another pen name, which is an open pen name. It's Joanna Steenen, and it's just to signal that people, if you don't like that, stay away from those books. But if you might, I do try to write bed scenes in a caring and beautiful way.
Which is awesome. I just don't write them. If there's going to be a sex scene, we're going to end the chapter. You can imagine whatever you want. Because sometimes I have shifters who are married or non-human creatures, and if you want to imagine that, go for it. I'm going to just fade to black.
That's what I do in the wolves. I have a wolf shifter series, and they mention that, but it's basically fade to black whenever they decide that they want to do it. And that was so funny because I started the wolf shifter series thinking, hey, let's do some hot shifter series and tap into that market.
Yeah.
And my characters utterly refused. I mean, it's just adamantly.
They just shut the door on you and they're like, nope, this is a no author zone.
This is where we want our privacy. So step away. So I have something that's hard to market. I have a shifter series that's basically not hot.
It's sweet and clean. Well, I don't like the clean, as I said. That kind of means that other ones that aren't fade to black are dirty, and I don't like that associate. I don't think that's right or fair.
It isn't, and it's not reader fair either. I mean, I read a lot of romance lately just because I know it's a safe genre. It won't traumatize me.
I read a lot of action books. I read the kind of books that might traumatize people, but I don't know. I love the action. I love the sci-fi military, the fantasy military, just the action books that have like maybe the romance is on the side, off to the side, or in the fade to black area. But I don't know. I love that. People running around trying to spear each other. I don't know. There's something about that.
I used to love that. I used to do that all the time. I mean, I used to read like a lot. I mean, I read for years and decades before I started writing. And I used to love all the action stuff. And I find that now I can't do I can't do the high tension level thing anymore. I find that it, I don't know how to say that. It kind of overwhelms me with the tension. So I'm going for the sweeter and less angsty things right now. And I get stressed by other stuff so much that when I want to relax, I'm like, no, don't don't make my heart race. Like,
I'm opposite. Like, I work in corporate America, and it's also very, very stressful. And so, reading those high octane adventures, there's something about that that's like, wow, my life is boring compared to this. I feel better about all the things that are stressing me out. You know, they're not stressing me out anymore because the government is not searching for me. You know, there's not a legion of like soldiers like going around the countryside using their magic trying to find me. Like, wow, my life is great in comparison. So that's my like, yeah, I think that's why I like them, because they make my life seem like, you know, whatever's going on at work is boring in comparison.
I mean, fortunately, we can all pick our level of excitement in books, and there's so many indie books out there. Yeah. It's just so awesome. I love it. So yeah, my books do have tension. I mean, I do put my characters into danger and in difficult situations. I mean, mangle them a bit.
You have them in danger from page 1. They're going to sacrifice her. I don't know. That's pretty angsty, and that's pretty high tension, high octane right there. I mean, she got to survive. I mean, that's a pretty damn good hook.
She does, and she does get some peace, and then she puts herself into danger again. So that's not a spoiler because it's in the blurb. She actually goes back into the Empire with someone else to help retrieve the girl, and this is a high tension adventure because there are houses willing to defend the Empire with magic. Yep, she knows about that.
So let's go back to like, why do they want to sacrifice her? So there's like, I still trying to wrap my brain around that one, because like,
yeah, it's sort of
like, yeah,
the purpose is that they need her magical and life energy to maintain this protective veil around the Empire. That basically all her power, her magical power, goes into the veil, plus all her life energy, and it powers the veil for a year or so. And it takes it takes an entire house. It takes all the 8 people, all their magic, and they maintain that veil that has been protecting the Empire for, I don't know, roughly 200 years now.
What's outside the veil? What are they being protected from?
That's something you'll find out.
Oh, you have to read to find out.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil that one.
There. But there's definitely something out there they need protection from.
I'm not answering that question.
Oh, wow. She's stonewalling me.
I do want to write the prequel eventually, and I have some ideas. I want to write the prequel explaining how the veil actually came into existence. And I can tell you that they were fighting very nasty blood mages at that time, and they created the veil to protect the remaining part of the Empire. It used to be much bigger, but they created the veil to protect the population against these very evil blood mages. That's how it came to be, and yeah.
Okay. So when she escapes them and she's living in the South, she's still inside the veil, inside the Empire.
She's actually outside of it.
Oh, she's outside. Okay. So we're going to find out what's outside of the veil and how you cross through the veil and how the veil keeps out threats, I guess. In the first book, we'll get some glimpses of that if she gets outside it.
Yeah, and she has to sneak back in, so that means crossing the veil. And yeah, that's a bit of a surprise there. What happens when she touches that veil again? So yeah. Cool. That's going to be fun. I mean, all of my characters basically encounter that situation. They're being hunted. I mean, it's like the priests are using magic to find them and kill them, and they have to. They have their own ways of getting through that. I mean, West especially. I'm not going to spoil much of that. West does actually spend quite a bit of his adventure back inside the empire, while East is having several run-ins with different houses, and poor guy, he gets mangled most.
Oh no! Oh no! And you were saying on Facebook, because Hannah and I are friends on Facebook. I like that better. That you're finishing, you're working on another book for this series.
Yes, I have published all the Winds books, the first four, and there's four more about the pillars, and I'm working on Earth. I've already written most of Sky. I kind of stalled out on Sun's book, and I have ideas for Moon's. So Earth is a woman, and the things are harder for the pillars because they have to escape from Holy City. They're basically smack dab in the middle of the empire, and they have to get out. And they obviously all find their own way of doing that. And Earth gets a little bit of help, but you have to read the series to find that out.
Ah, who helps?
And I'm struggling with the series, and I don't really know how to say that well, but it's not finding a lot of readers, so it's a bit hard to find the motivation for those final books. But the characters are there; they're telling me their story. Well, Sun is a bit of an ass, but
Oh. Makes sense. You might struggle with that one if the character's not the nicest and not the most cooperative.
I don't know why he's hiding what he's hiding, but he's not really talking to me. I mean, Sky was a sweetheart. I mean, West is a cinnamon roll, and Sky is pretty much a cinnamon roll as well. Sun is difficult. Sun is, I don't know, he's hiding something. And of course, Moon.
And you need to know what he's hiding because it could affect the story. And you're like, dude, you got to tell me.
Yeah, and Moon, and I'm so looking forward to writing Moon, and but I will go back writing Wolves first because I need a break from that one. But Moon is going to be so cool. Moon is a woman, and Moon is...
Maybe Sun is jealous, and that's why you're having trouble with Sun's book. He knows you want to write about Moon because Moon is a cooler character. He's like, yeah, I'm going to just make your life difficult so you can't get there.
that would fit him. But yeah, Moon is going to be... She thinks she's so cool and she's so great, and she has this big plan, and she's been really planning to get out for, ever since she figured out that someone else escaped. She kind of decided, I can do that too. They won't get me up on that pyramid. And she has it all figured out.
So the characters have heard of each other. So you won't tell us who she heard escape, but
they sit in the sacred square, and she certainly noticed that it wasn't Earth who died on the pyramid.
It was somebody else.
It was somebody else, and she noticed.
Someone if you didn't get to, if the person who was supposed to get sacrificed didn't, that means this person, where did they go? They must have escaped. Well, if they did it, I could do it too.
Exactly. That's what Moon is thinking, and Moon is planning, and Moon is plotting, and she, like I said, she thinks she has it all figured out, but then you know what happens to plans.
Yeah, very familiar with that.
Thing is, and this is something that goes throughout all the books, all of my characters, all of the houses, they grow up very sheltered. They only know what the priests tell them, and the priests don't always tell the truth and never the whole truth. So,
well, history is written by the victors, so
yeah. So all of my characters and all of the people living in the houses, living in the sacred square, they kind of know about the Emperor because they see it magically, and they work in it. They work their magic in it, and the winds help them travel to the place they need to work their magic. But they don't really understand how society functions. They don't understand about money. Money is never a thing in the house because they're given everything they need. They're given the food, clothing, the furniture, that's what they have, and they don't realize how society works.
Oh, I see.
So whenever they escape, they're faced with a lot of strange things. I mean, South doesn't even know that she's riding a mule. I mean, she knows she's riding an animal, but she isn't sure what kind of animal it is. She's just like, oh, this is unpleasant.
I don't want to do this again. This is not an experience I want to repeat.
I mean, seriously, you've never ridden a horse or a mule and you sit in the saddle for 5 days straight? God, this is going to hurt.
I've never done it,
hurt after
but
an hour
it sounds painful.
Yeah, I used to ride horses when I was younger, so I do know how that feels. And you get a lot of horse lore in West for a reason, and I love doing that. I love pulling in things that I know. Like in the science fiction series, I have a hunter-gatherer society that, you know, they do flint knapping and they do hunting with traps and things. That was great fun to put into a science fiction story. But so yeah, the world of South is loosely medieval, possibly pre-Renaissance. They don't have gunpowder, and they do a lot of mule treks, but they do have carts and wagons if necessary. So it's not entirely, you know, it's not Aztec in vibe. It's basically your average fantasy society. I wasn't very inventive there. It's just they kind of walk and ride horses and have carts, and they transport goods. But because they do it through some mountainous areas, they have mule caravans, and so it's...
You're nice. You let them have carts and horses. I make my characters walk everywhere. I mean, sometimes I let them take the ferry if they have the fare, which they never do. So
I've read some fantasy where they ride on trains. I thought that was interesting.
Yes, I've read one that it's not Flintlock. I was talking to another author yesterday about, or the other day, about Flintlock fantasy. This wasn't Flintlock, but there were trains. It was like, but they had like they weren't really guns. That towards the end of the series, they started having those like muskets and things, but that was like before that. But they had trains and things, which was kind of neat.
Yeah, which is kind of a reversed order because in our Earth history we get gunpowder before we get trains. But
yeah, it was cool to see it the other way around. That they're like, yeah, we need to get places.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. And I mean, I love exploring worlds, and that's the other thing. I mean, I know people love complex world building and all that. It's just I'm lazy. I don't do that. I watch my characters and I watch them walk through their world, or, you know, ride or fly, whatever. And that's how I find out my world. That's how it's revealed. It's
that's the right way to do it, in my opinion, because then you don't really need to know that, you know, I didn't know there was a shield around the country that I write all my books about until like they started talking about it. I was like, oh, I didn't know that was there. I mean, I figured there was other lands beyond your country, but since none of you have left, I mean, I didn't know what the border was like, but okay, now there's a shield around it. Who put this thing there? And, you know, why is it there? What the hell is outside of it? I never was curious. And now I'm like, maybe we're going to have to send somebody out there because I don't know what's out there.
I mean, it's like with the veil, you can't cross the veil. They have like gates, and they have places where they like to control it, and they have like guards that watch the veil in, you know, where there isn't an official gate. Basically, they're watching for disturbances in the veil, so it's magical, and that's
do they
how
have to call somebody? What if there is a disturbance in the veil? Do they have to call somebody to come and smooth it out or fix it? Or
they go look, it smooths out by itself, but they go and send a wind or house to look what's going on there if they notice something. So you can cross illegally, but it comes with some danger. So yeah, people are not supposed to do that. but since there is some trade, there's also a harbor. The pyramid in the west is in a town called West Harbor, where West ends up for a while. And that's where they also have some trading ships come in and go out. And I have not seen much of that, but Moon is going to explore that some more, because Moon has water powers. That's the element associated with Moon. and they all have the same names. That's the other thing. So you have South Rabbit, and there would be a West Rabbit, East and North Rabbit, and Earth and Sky, and they always identify with so it's sort of like the house name is their last name. And when my characters actually meet, they identify themselves with the house name, because so South has the whole set of people, and she has a West in her house, but then she meets West eventually.
From the same house or a different house?
A different house. I mean, her house is basically, they're all dead. So it's like each book is a year later.
Oh, okay.
Which is starting to be difficult, because the timeline between East
you got to figure out what was everybody doing in the years in between, because you're like, wait a minute, if there's a year between each book, by the time we all meet, there's been like a lot of years between when we first saw this one and we're seeing them again in here. What the hell were you doing in that time? Because we have to account for it somehow, because that has an effect on you physically, emotionally, mentally, depending on what your circumstances were for those years.
Exactly. So some of them.
This is why I do a couple of months in between books, because that's a little bit easier to account for.
Yeah, and mine are, I mean, seriously, there is. What can I say? There's little incentive to leave before they have to.
It sounds like they're living a comfortable life, but they know that they're ultimately going to be sacrificed, or is that sort of a surprise?
They know that. It's been explained to them that this is their fate.
Okay.
This is what is expected. That's what all of them, what happens to all of them. This is the way of the world. It's the way their life has to be, because they're special.
And they don't know when that's going to happen. So they just know somewhere in the future. Oh, they do know when.
It's the winter solstice when they turn 25. They know exactly when it happens. And in Earth, I actually explore that part a bit, because I share, most of the books start with their escape. But Earth is the book where you get to see life before the winter solstice for spoiler reasons. We see Earth a bit before she reaches that point in her life, and we see what it does to people.
So are there a lot of people who are born with this magic, or only a few? So I was trying to work out the mechanics of so on the winter solstice, there always is a sacrifice. Is it one person they're sacrificing, or many people?
It's the 8 people from the house in the sacred square, and there is a bit of a fashion now that big towns have started building their own pyramids and finding people to kill.
So it's all people in the house on the same, because they're not all going to turn 25 at the same time.
It's basically 4 days, starting with the winter solstice for the pillars, and then the winds get transported to their pyramids at the edge of the empire, and then there's a signal when they've all arrived, and they're all killed on the same day. Okay. So that's how it's organized. And
I see. So they put you in a house, so it's everybody who's born that year, so you're all going to be 25 at the same, different months but you're all going to be 25 in the same year.
So what the priests try to do is they try to control all magic users. They try to have a hold of them. And this is another spoiler. They don't want them to get too powerful. So what they do is they scour the Holy Empire for anyone who shows signs of magic use. They grab those children and stick them into a house. They actually breed people inside the houses if they run short. they've managed to reduce the number of magic users significantly because they kill them off basically, and they control their breeding. And that's why they're also hunting beyond the borders of the Holy Empire. They're stealing children who have magic. They hunt for them. They search for them and they hunt for them, and that becomes a topic in, well, not a side plot, but it's a topic in the books. That's what they do to South's niece. They figure out she has magic and they steal her. She's too old to be put into a house, so she'll become what they call a star. Stars are magic users that are not associated with the house. They're used as weapons and they're used as sacrifices. So that's the whole idea, is to absolutely control every magic user. And the priests can use magic, but they're inside the case. They're controlled by head priests. And then you have the others, the winds, the pillars, and the stars. And that's the whole point of the empire. They want to control magic because they've had blood magic almost eliminate the empire, the old empire. And they never want that to happen again.
So is this all rising up to a big sort of Star Wars style rebellion?
Well, there's no
spaceships.
No Death Stars, but yes, in the end, they will all team up and they will change the system.
Hopefully, put in a better system.
Oh yeah. And that's, I mean, I really need to write the prequel because that's how this war. That's about the war that ended by the creation of the Veil.
Yeah, you'll definitely need that, because in the final conflict, they'll need to find out things that from that prequel, and you'll have many callbacks to it. So yeah,
it's they.
You better get writing that. You better get Sun to behave so you can write Moon, and so you can write the prequel and get to the book where they all come together and we have the big rebellion.
Yeah, and I'm sort of thinking, I have these titles, as South Breaks and West Flows and East Roars and North.
I love the titles.
Earth Splits and Sky Falls, Sunburns, Moon Rises, and the final one where it all comes together is Spirit Sings.
Oh wow!
And this is going to be a prophecy in the prequel. So the titles will. I mean, this was so awesome. I was lying in bed one night a couple of years ago, and all these titles appeared, and the whole concept sort of came to me. And I literally got up in the morning and I wrote out the titles because I wanted to write that series.
I love that you had a dream with the titles. I have to figure out the titles after the fact. I'm like, all right, this is what we did in the book. What are we going to call this thing?
It wasn't a dream. What I love doing in the mornings is just, stay curled up in bed and just daydream a little. And I usually wake up before I have to get up. I use a light alarm and it starts turning on the light. And when it's the time when I really need to get up, it plays a jingle. But so I usually wake up before the alarm goes off. And I love that because it's so non-stressful. And that's the time when I usually lie in bed and just sort of daydream about stories, about things. And that's sometimes when Whiter Brain gives me a lot of ideas. And it gave me that was so amazing. It gave me the entire titles. And my characters actually, the story actually draws from the title. So that's
cool. I'm jealous, man. My muse doesn't give me titles. We need to work on our relationship here. I also get ideas while I'm driving to work when I can do absolutely nothing about them.
That's so unfair, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I'm like, look, I can't write this down right now because I am driving. I'm operating a motor vehicle in heavy New York traffic.
Absolutely, yeah. You need to have a recording device that you can just, push on with just something that you can turn on
Yeah.
with your thumb, or something that won't detract you from watching traffic. But
I've
if you
tried to do that with my phone because it does have the
Mhm,
speech to text, but then
mhm.
like because the speech to text is out, because there's the car noise and
Oh,
everything, and it does it for some reason. I have some kind of accent that it struggles with, except for in
yeah,
crystal clear, quiet environments, which a car in heavy traffic is not,
no.
and especially not in New York. And so it will garble some, and I know that, so I want to look at it and fix it because I know what I'm saying right now, and I may not know later when I look back at it. I've also tried making recordings on the phone,
Mhm.
but then like I forget that I did that, and like it's not in my like my cloud where I keep all my stories and stuff. So I forget all about it and never find it again. And so yeah, I need a better system. A bit disorganized on that front.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough that I usually can get to my computer before I have to run anywhere else. So if I have this massive idea, I can sort of like take notes before I have to run and do anything else. So that's fortunate. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, it's I have so many unfinished series because starting a story is so awesome and cool. Finishing it is
Yeah, guilty. I have 5 series, so I'm guilty as charged. But I am trying to finish them out, or at least get the books that have been promised out.
yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, so
characters, if the characters cooperate. If it's not out, you need to speak to the characters. They need to listen to their author, show up for their job, and they need to show up and do the adventure that's planned and promised.
they don't always cooperate. I mean,
No.
I'm so glad the readers don't see that. I mean, they see the finished product.
But sometimes I wonder if they can tell from the finished product, like if whether
Yeah,
the characters followed the plan that the author set out, or if the characters were like, no, we're going left. I know you want us to go right in the worst way possible, but the left path leads to something that we find more interesting. You just gonna have to figure out how to get us back to where you wanted us. We're gonna go in the complete other direction.
yeah, character wrangling has nothing on dungeon masters in
Yeah.
tabletop role-playing games.
Yeah, you can get humans to follow you, but like fictional characters, no.
Yeah, I've had some. I mean, it's you get some more experience. It's getting easier to wrangle them, but my God, sometimes they, like I said, with the wolves, they just absolutely refuse to go into that spicy romance subgenre. They just did not. And there's nothing I can do. I mean, it's just that if they do that, if they choose that, and so I'm stuck with marketing a story that is not necessarily filling expectations. So the only thing you can do is you can write blurbs that hopefully tell the readers this is what it is and that's what it's not. And that's what I'm trying with the blurbs. That's actually an art form, writing a blurb.
Yeah, I'm not the greatest at it.
Yeah, I read books and I try to follow a recipe basically, and it seems to be working. I'm reworking my blurbs, and but in the end, it's just you need to tell readers what the story is about, what to expect, and then I mean, so just labeling a book something like I'm labeling the Winds and Pillars, I'm labeling them epic fantasy because it is a story that's sort of like epic in scope, but it's not necessarily epic in the sense that there's like dragons and ogres and trolls everywhere. Um, it's pretty much a contained world. It's people against it's humans against humans, and mostly some with magic, some without. But it's basically a power struggle between an empire and the people they enslaved, more or less. So so I think I can call it epic, but it's the genre boundaries just don't necessarily work for the stories. It's that's the thing. If you cross or genre boundaries or straddle them, it's harder to find readers who enjoy it anyway.
Well, I also think that epic fantasy is sort of a broader genre. It encompasses, Tolkien, which is like there's very little, there's almost no magic in there. If you've not read the books, like Gandalf's power in the books is basically motivational speaking and being able to discipline like literally everybody by like knowing all of their names and using them when he doesn't like what they're doing. But he doesn't do he does very little magic in the entire book. There's even Galadriel, who is like the most powerful character alive in the Third Age in the Lord of the Rings, she doesn't do much magic at all. Like there's just not much magic. It's more. So I do think that and look at, Game of Thrones. I mean, aside from the dragons that I've only read part of the first book. It wasn't for me, but from everything I've heard about it, there's not a heck of a lot of magic in there. So I think that that's the cool thing about epic fantasy. It can encompass books that are more political, like Game of Thrones, or more like yours, where it is the struggle between the enslaved people and the people who are enslaving them with some magic, all the way up to books that are full of magic, which mine is on the other spectrum. I don't have much politics because I don't really like them. I'm eventually going to have to deal with them because you can't escape them forever. But I have fun with the magical creatures and all of that. But my main character is a mage, so he's going to track magical threats. It's just kind of the nature of the business. But I think that's the cool thing about epic fantasy is it contains that spectrum, and it can be high fantasy and low fantasy. And it says to people, epic fantasy meaning it's not on our world. Like it is second world fantasy. It could be anywhere on this magical spectrum, from low magic to very high magic, from political to not very political. It can contain all of that. And I think that's the great thing about the genre is that there's these little corners that you can carve out for yourself.
And I think epic to me means, well, not just one single main. I mean, it's like you'd have a bunch of characters or, certain bigger cast than maybe other parts of fantasy. I mean, paranormal fantasy doesn't shout like you have 10 characters to me. It could, but basically it isn't. And the level of, I mean, this is something that I'm trying to put into make it clear in other ways, the level of the amount of magic, basically. I mean, in the Winds and Pillars, all of my characters wield magic, but they don't do it all the time. I mean, they have to defend them against magic. They use it, but it's not like there's always like big magical duels.
It doesn't sound like that kind of a story needs it, because if they're running for their lives, like using magic would be like sending up a fireworks or flares, like, hello, come and get me. Like if they're trying to be incognito, you wouldn't, I mean, like even when my mages are trying to be incognito, they don't use magic. They're, so there's a time and a place for that. And look at Lord of the Rings is one of the most popular things. There are no magic duels in there. Literally, there's just the one thing with Gandalf versus the Balrog, but it's more of a sword battle than a magic battle, really. I mean, and it's more hand-to-hand combat. There's not really any magic involved. I mean,
Aragorn calls the ghosts, so there's
but that was fulfilling an oath, but that wasn't magic. He doesn't have any magic. He was just calling them to fulfill their oath. That was it. The oath in Tolkien's world. The oath is what has power. If you promise something, that has weight. And if you create an item, you give it part of your Fea, which is your soul or life force, and you're imbuing this item that can give it power. But they don't that's basically like it. Because I mean, look, Galadriel, Elrond, and Gandalf both have, three of the rings that, Sauron made. That, they have that's part of what makes them so powerful, but they never use them. Yes. I mean, there's many reasons why they don't use it. There's also the Palantir, which they can use, the Seeing Stones. I'm obsessed with the whole Lord of the Rings thing. My books, if you read them, have a lot. There's a lot of,
I've read them
and things.
I've read them several times. So, I mean, basically, the biggest magic user is Saruman.
Yes.
He's the one who does all he creates the orcs, basically. He creates the Palantir, so he has them.
The Caradhras.
So he Saruman really is the main magic wielder in I mean, aside from Sauron.
Yeah, and I forgot about that. There was that kind of sort of duel between him and Gandalf, but yeah, there's not really a heck of a lot of magic in there. And like when they're fighting the in the Two Towers, when they're at Helm's Deep and they're defending, there's no magic at all getting thrown around. They're using like swords and arrows and a whatchamacallit, to bust in the door. Yeah, it's more. Yeah, it's and I think that's the awesome thing about like having fantasy is you can have books that are very grounded in realism, where there is maybe some magic, but there's not a lot, and you could still have really great books about that. Yeah, so I don't think you should worry about that, because it contains both. It's a spectrum.
It is, and basically, I think to me, storytelling doesn't need magic. I mean, it's just a tool we put in there. It's just another layer. I love writing fantasy because it takes us into a second world, and I can play with things that happen in our world in a different dimension, which gives us a degree of separation between real life and the stories that we have. And that also is a safety distance, if you wish.
Yes. And you can change it because it's not the real events and they're divorced from the real events. You can be like, yeah, I don't like the way that ended in reality. I'm going to change this and do it a different way.
Right. And this is something not a lot of people know about me, but I used to run my own therapy practice. And if you work with people who talk or try to talk about traumas, creating a safe space and creating this distance between what happened and your emotions, this dissociation, you need a certain amount of dissociation to be able to talk about it. And so this safety distance is something that I enjoy reading fantasy, because it's just not this world.
Well, that's interesting, because I think my main character needs a therapist. Not because of anything I did. Okay, all this happened before the first book. I didn't do this to the character. They brought this baggage in it was not planned. Then the character's like, yeah, here's my emotional baggage that you didn't create for me. I'm like, what do I do with this? That wasn't in the plan.
I mean, seriously, it's I think most of my characters have PTSD in some ways. But that's simply because they follow a growth arc. I mean, I prefer having stories where the characters grow. And that's another thing. People tend to grow because of hardship, because lives don't go the way they want to. I mean, if anyone is just happy all day long, why would they move from their butt and do anything? So we need our characters to change, and we need to have something that pushes them into the adventure, which can be nice.
Into the change, because sometimes characters, even though they go through all the things, sometimes they don't want to change. If a certain character I'm thinking of right now is finally changing, it only took 10 books.
And of course they find changing. I mean, seriously, who loves change?
Right? He's resisted it, but it's gotten to the point where in book 10, he's like, okay, maybe I need to change. Maybe I need to accept help from other people and trust them. And yeah.
There you go.
It only took 10 books. I mean,
I know how that goes.
I hope we're not going to take another 10 books to get to the other like changes that we need,
But yeah, I mean, this is, our characters go through things, and of course they take damage, and that leaves scars. And I mean, it's part of the story to show how they deal with that as well. I mean, East is not dealing well with stuff that happens to him. He has anger issues.
I mean, who wouldn't? They were going to sacrifice him, and
yeah, I mean, others are basically resigned. It's like, yeah, this is just the way my life is supposed to be. I mean, you can get talked into that. I mean, people do that. Look at this horrible place in Africa where this fake priest basically persuaded people to hunger themselves to death. It happens. You can brainwash people into doing that. So getting my characters out of that destiny is, I mean, that's why it's called Winds of Destiny. They change their destiny, and in the end they change the entire world.
Are they the only ones, or do they find out that there were other people that were not main characters in the books who also like escaped, or are they the only ones that have?
They're the only ones that know about it. There were others, I'm pretty sure, but the priests certainly are not talkative about that.
Yeah, they wouldn't have a way of finding out unless they bumped into someone.
Exactly.
And that person wouldn't want to tell them because that would defeat the whole purpose of escaping and living, incognito somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I have a very nice part in East where I don't think that's too spoilery. East actually runs into West, and they meet and they talk and they travel together for some time. So that's fun. That's for East, it's a huge relief to actually meet someone who knows what it means to have lived in the sacred square and to find someone who has built a life for himself. So that means a lot. So they do meet. My 8 main characters end up meeting each other and end up, plotting together. So not
and they all get along?
Some more than others.
Or it's an alliance by necessity, not because they actually like all of each other.
Well, South is a really sweet woman, and West is a cinnamon roll. East is one who sometimes tosses matches into a powder keg, but that's okay.
And it sounds like Sun is going to be a difficult one.
Sun is probably going to be a really difficult one. Sky is... and yeah, I think Sun and Moon, they're both going to be difficult, but they can all get motivated by the goal, of getting rid of the priests. I mean, that's something they would all agree on. I mean,
But then they all have to agree on the plan.
No, but at least they'll have a common goal.
Yeah.
And the plan is basically determined by history. That's something they're finding out about history. Especially Sun is going to find out because he finds a place where history is being kept. And they have to base their plan on that. So they don't really have a whole lot of options. They will squabble about who goes where, but even that is not a whole lot of... They don't have a whole lot of options about that either. So they basically have to suck it up and do it.
That should be some fun conversations, trying to get them all to agree to that. And...
Yeah, I'm kind of glad that that's still a future Hannah problem.
Future Hannah is probably not too happy that you left that for her. Or maybe she's having a blast figuring it out. I don't know. I hope that's the case.
I'll find out when I get there. But yeah, this is a huge series, and it's really been taking a lot out of me. So I'm kind of slowing down. I'm skipping back to the wolves to have something fun to write for, just to get a little break. But the other books are coming. It's just going to take a bit longer than I hoped. I mean, with the wolves, that was insane. I published a book a month when I did the 6 wolf books.
Wow.
That was absolutely insane. And I was thinking I could do something similar with the Winds and Pillars, and it's just not doable. I mean, I basically fell into burnout earlier this year, and I'm still recovering from it and really working not to push myself back into it. So unfortunately, I only have a part-time day job to deal with, and no family to speak of. I mean, like I said, I'll see my dad. I don't need to call him back, but yeah. Other than that, I promise the books are coming, just not as fast as I wanted to.
Well, you got to do it at a pace that you can handle. That's not going to burn you out. I can't imagine doing a book a month. The closest I've ever gotten was 6 books in a year.
Mm-hmm.
And that was during the pandemic because I was working. I was still working full time, but I was working from home. So yeah. I'd work till 5:30, 6, have dinner, go, wander around a bit, and then just go work on it. But now that the pandemic is over and back to the commuting and stuff, I just I don't have as much. I have a lot less time to write, so I'm just trying to do the best that I can with the limited time that I have. So we're back to 4 books a year, or that's what I'm trying for.
Yeah, and I'm like probably going to be 3 or 4 a year, because right now, I mean, I'm still I'm drawing a lot of what I've written before, but
it's a sustainable pace, though, I find, because it gives you time to write it, and if you've got other things going on, or you're dealing with burnout or characters who won't listen to you that you're constantly arguing with, which can take a lot out of you as an author.
It does.
You know, you're not going to get those high word counts.
No. And my books aren't that big. I mean, I usually write like 50, 60K books. So, and they're fast paced. People read them quickly. So I don't price them very high either, but
I admire you, because like the goal is always to write 50 to 60K, but the characters have other plans, and my plan is to end up with these 160, 130K word books, 104, 110, and I'm like, okay, we're only going to write 50 to 60,000 words. Where did the rest of this come from?
Yeah, but yeah, I think I need to see about my dad. So
okay, so why don't we end this here? It's been fantastic having you. Is there anything else you want to say about South Breaks or the Winds of Destiny or the Pillars?
I would love if any of you readers took a look at it. Don't hesitate to tell me anything about it. I'm very open to talking to my readers. I love you. I write for you guys. So let me know if there's anything you want to know, to ask, if you, just anything. Just don't be shy. Say hi.
Well, I'm just going to buy all of them, because I mean, I have some of them. I'm going to get the rest. This was a good reminder that there are other books in the series that I don't have. So I'm going to be doing that after this.
Thank you. And it's been such a pleasure chatting with you. I mean, seriously, that was great fun, because I can tell we have a lot of similar ideas about fantasy and writing.
Yes, we do. And I have some of your books, and like I didn't realize that I just went and looked at it while we were talking, and I was like, wait, I don't have all. I thought I had all of them, but I don't have all of them, so I'm missing a couple. So I'm going to be correcting that. I'll be getting them. Oh, you're welcome. No, I loved South Breaks, and I've read I don't remember, because I read I read so many books, and I listen to so many audiobooks that like I have to literally like go check. I have to like go to Google Play and be like, is it in here? Okay, if it's not here, then I probably haven't read it yet. But that's not a guarantee, because we've all got the Kindle app, and there's libraries and things, and like I've just completely lost track of. I was reading one book the other day, and I was about halfway through, and I was like, wait, I remember this. I think I've read this already. So it was weird. It was like this scene in the middle of the book, and I was like, wait a minute, I think I've actually read this book before. I had no memory of the beginning, but I remember this scene. So yeah, so I'm gonna be doing that after this, because I don't know. For some reason I don't find out about when things come out, or I follow people, but I guess I'm not following them in the right places, because that's been the interesting thing about some of these interviews, is finding out that there's I have some of the books in the series, but not all of them. And I'm like, wait, when did the rest of these come out? Why was I not notified?
Yeah, I'm starting to think I need to put reminders into my newsletters, just like, and remember, here's the series starters for this.
Well, yeah, no, that's probably a good idea. Like, I'm not the greatest at checking Facebook, so that's probably why I see your updates, because I don't go on every day. I see them every once in a while, and I miss that, oh wait, there was a book that came out that I don't have. So I'm gonna be correcting that after this. So I suggest that you all correct that too, especially since her books are everywhere. You have no excuse not to go and find them.
Yeah, they're definitely. I mean, Google has been so good to me. I
love Google Play as a reader. That's always been my ebook reader of choice on my phone, and I'm just so glad that there are more indie authors on that there's just more books in general on there to purchase, because for a while there it was there wasn't a whole lot in the fantasy. I was like, well, I've read the Lord of the Rings many times. I don't would like to read something else, but there just isn't a lot of things on there. So
Oof.
I'm grateful that you're on there.
And I mean, I know we're not supposed to do all of this author talk, but Google Play has really become a really good place for authors. Like in the last 2 years, they used to do some awkward stuff before, and they stopped doing that. Like they played with the prices and didn't tell authors. And of course, if you have books in one place and Amazon finds out, they give you hell if you change prices and don't change it on their place. So Google stopped doing that. Google started giving authors a lot more control, and they've become awesome. They've become awesome. I'm so glad I decided to put my books on there. It's just so practically everything I've done is on there. Well, yeah.
All mine are on there too. I like Google Play as a reader.
There, but
yeah.
Yeah, I've practically everything I have is on there because they make it so easy and they make it so nice, and they're really good for authors. So don't feel bad if you know, anyone listening, do not feel bad if you buy books through Google. We authors appreciate that.
Yeah, and I've always liked their e-reader better than Kindle. I'm sorry to say this, but like I've always liked it better because it has the ability to, if your eyes get tired, like it'll read it to you, which I've always loved because I work in an office and I often have eye strain, especially since I'm doing so many more podcast episodes. I'm looking at the screen for more hours every day. So I find that to be really helpful. And whereas, I don't do the Alexa thing. I have a really small apartment, so I don't really need Alexa. My phone is always on me. So like when I've tried to read things through the Kindle, you can get the Alexa to read it, but it often skips chapters, gets confused. But Google Play doesn't do that. So that's one of the reasons why Google Play is not sponsoring. I wish they would. Like I love theirs. I'm a Google girl at heart, but they're not sponsoring this. I just prefer it. Like I have some vision issues, so I just prefer it for that reason. It does not skip things. It doesn't forget where you are. And I really appreciate that, because if you're having eye strain and the story suddenly jumps and isn't making sense, and you're trying to figure it out through the Kindle thing, it's really difficult. It's not easy to figure out where it jumped from and try and find your place and get it to go back and read it properly. And I've never had that problem with Google Play, so I appreciate. That's why one of the reasons why I love it.
Yeah, and I'm just glad it's now so easy and so feasible to put my books there. And I believe in spreading out. I don't believe in putting all my eggs in one basket. And I'm not a fan of exclusivity either. So my books are as everywhere as I can put them. And I hope that makes it easier for the readers.
No, I think it does. It makes it, like I said, I'm always happy when I can. That's why I bought South Breaks when it first came out. I was like, I read South. It is South Breaks. Now, I was getting confused because we've mentioned many different titles. I was like, wait, was it South Breaks or was it East Breaks? Or no, that was East Roars.
No, it's South Breaks.
Yeah, I had it right. So that was one of the reasons why I picked it up. I was like, oh, it's a fantasy book and it's on Google Play and I have not read it before. This is awesome. So, and you're also, did you put South Breaks into, the self-publishing blog off number 9 SPFBO? Did you put it in there? I thought I saw you in there.
I missed it. Missed
it. Okay, because I've seen you in the group, and I wasn't sure if you were part of it or if you.
I had planned to do this. I actually picked the cover color to work well in SPFBO, and I was home. I wasn't on Facebook. I kind of didn't get any warnings. I usually am in the Facebook group. I should have got any notifications, and I didn't. And I saw on Facebook, I basically saw a post, and SPFBO is full, and it's all done in 18 minutes. And I was like, really?
It was like 42 minutes, I heard. Because it was 8 a.m. in New York when it opened, and I was driving to work, and I was like, well, I don't know how, I had no idea how long it would be open. And I was like, I don't know how popular this is. I better do this right now. So I had prepared the night before a Word document that I had saved on my phone with all the links, any text that I need. So it was just literally like select, copy, paste. So at every traffic light that I stopped at that morning, that's what I was doing. And I got it in before that. So Chris Baker Enchanted.
I could have done it easily if I had known, but because that's 2 p.m. my time. So I'm done with the day job. I'm usually home. at that time, and I could have done that, but I was too tired to log into Facebook at that moment, and I only realized it was even open when it was already closed again.
Well, next year there's going to be SPFO 10 next year, so that's another option.
Yeah, I'm just afraid it's going to fill up like in 10 minutes then.
Well, you'll have to be at your computer, and the minute it opens, start your engines.
Yes. Yeah, that's my hope. I mean, but it's, yeah, let's not go into that.
I just because a lot of the interviews have been people in there, like I'm always like asking, and this guy's in there, Chris Baker and
No,
he is in SPFBO 9, so hopefully
so
he'll
I wish you
advance.
all the luck for SPFBO. I mean, I was in SPFBO 8 with the Dragon. That's my first and only time I got in there. And I'll hope for next year.
Yeah. It's easier for you because you're actually in his. You're only like an hour off from him. Like I was trying to do the conversion, and I'm like, wait, is it 6 hours or is it 7 hours between London and New York?
Yeah. And there's a similar thing coming up for novellas, and I'm trying to. I'll put my Wolf book in there. So
I was thinking of doing it, but like my two shortest books are both they have to be under 40,000 words, and my two shortest books are over 40,000 words.
Yeah, I'll have to check that. So, I know my dragon book is under my first dragon book is under 40,000, and with the wolves, I'm not sure. I need to check that, but
yeah, because I saw the thing and I went and checked, and I was like, nope, his Angelic Keeper and Chris Baker Darkins are both over 40,000 words, so they're not.
I have a reminder in my calendar for that one. But
well, I hope you get in. I hope you do well in it.
Fun. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to end it here. So I am your indie fantasy author, Melinda Kucsera, and this is Hannah Steenbock. And we've been talking about South Breaks and many of the other books in the series. And we'll be back with more great books. So I hope you check out Hannah's books. I hope you have a great day or a great evening, depending on when you're listening or watching. Thank you so much.